Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Candy with Coffee Chats. Good morning. My apologies for not being here yesterday. I am back today. So cheers to all of you. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, grab your water, grab your juice, grab whatever it is that gets you going in the morning. We are going to jump in and play big today. Good morning, Deborah. Good morning, Paul. How is everyone doing this morning? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. My apologies for missing yesterday. Some things came up, so I am back today. Also want to let you know I will not be back till Tuesday. I am heading out before the crack of dawn at an unreasonable hour tomorrow for a 6 a.m. flight to Vancouver. So I will be in Vancouver Thursday through Monday morning. In fact, I will be traveling both Thursday and Monday during our time, and Friday I may be able to jump on, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So I'm just going to give myself a break and come back Tuesday, but I wanted to make sure we could be here today before I head out. Oh, excellent. Love when you're doing fabulously well. So good morning, everyone. I want to jump in a little bit and keep talking about some of the noise and some of the things that are showing up that may be, limiting beliefs or triggers. And then those of you that have been in the Yes Monthly program, we're diving in deep to limiting beliefs, because we really have to get into some of that foundational work before we can open up access for everything else. And so I want to talk a little bit about compliments today. It's interesting. Good morning, Martha. Welcome, everyone. I want to talk a little bit about compliments today and why they're so difficult for us to receive sometimes, and what compliments really are, where they stem from, and what it means when we choose not to receive that compliment. And so as I'm getting started, I want you to think about, what compliments do you get that you personally struggle with? Good morning. That you personally struggle with. Are there certain things, and not every compliment is one. Now, for some people, any compliment is hard to receive, so that might be where you're at. For other people, it could be there's specific compliments that you find really difficult to receive. So what I want you to do is, as we're kind of digging in this morning, I want you to think about what are either the scope of compliments or the one compliment that when you receive it, it either triggers you, you find yourself reeling, you find yourself questioning whether or not it's valid. And so I want you to think about right now, just kind of lean in a little bit and think about, what compliments do you struggle in receiving? And we're going to talk about why that shows up, and we're going to talk about what that ultimately means when you're not allowing that to come in, and how to shift that a little bit. Because I really want you to imagine for a moment if you allowed yourself to receive more. And so we're going to talk a lot about receiving as well over the course of the next, couple weeks, however many, we're just going to keep talking about it. Receiving is such a powerful discussion, and for a lot of people, receiving is really hard. And I say that as somebody who personally has had to do my own work and continues to do my work. And actually, part of why I'm going to Vancouver tomorrow is to do more work in this space. I am actually going to work with one of my mentors in Gurus as part of the Certified Master Trainer program in EBC, the Evolutionary Business Council. And I get to work with someone who probably is one of the most prolific masters in this space around building connection, around sacred connections, around really being able to receive, not only receive your own authenticity, but receive what life has to offer in terms of reciprocity, in terms of, all the gifts and all the blessings that we get. And so Martha, when told I did a good job, I feel like I didn't play good. Full out. That's an interesting one, right? Oftentimes, and I know that one I got a lot in corporate. People be like, oh, you're a rock star. And I can even remember one of the transitions. And sometimes it's because of the reputation and the branding you've created for yourself. And sometimes it's because people are really not being present. They're just flippantly giving a compliment because it feels like the nice thing to do. And so first of all, I want you to think about, good morning, Yvette. If you are someone who's offering a compliment and there's not that sincere, genuine, good morning, Catherine. If there is not that sincere, good morning, Mateo, if there's not that sincere, deep presence, that deep compassion, that really wanting to offer someone that extension of love, that gift of love, then don't waste your breath giving the compliment. Don't give a flippant compliment just to hear the words or just to like posture or position. I think that's one of the reasons that for some people, compliments are hard to receive, because oftentimes there's an inauthenticity to it. And I also want you to challenge that if you're questioning somebody giving you the compliment, whether or not you're spinning and questioning your own worth in that space. And so it's interesting, namaste, it's interesting, there's two sides of that coin, right? So this is that opportunity again to really lean in and ask, where's that coming from? Where's that stemming from for you? And so I want you to think a minute about the idea, and we're gonna talk about you giving compliments and you receiving compliments, but I really want you to think about whether or not you're open to receiving. And do you struggle? Do you struggle if somebody just randomly shows up and offers you something? Do you struggle if somebody randomly shows up and gives you this beautiful gift just because? Are you someone who struggles because someone gives you a compliment, and maybe to Martha's point, it's in a space where they're like, wow, you did such a great job, and you're like, I didn't even feel like I played full out. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to comment in that. First of all, in the space that Martha's talking about, in that space where sometimes we get challenged and we're like, I didn't play full out. I've done that oftentimes, especially when I'm speaking or I'm training. And I just feel like, and even on these calls, sometimes I get off and I'm kind of like, man, I felt off today. And sometimes it's not about my A+ game, it's about what you all needed or what the audience or whatever that person needed to receive. And there's a trusting and a knowing that whatever needed to show up in that moment was the best of what needed to be available. And sometimes we don't need to be 100% on all the time. That's exhausting. And I want you to realize that sometimes your B+ game is exactly what that group needs. And maybe your A+ game was too much for that day. And so think about when somebody's saying you did a good job, sometimes we can say thank you so much. And if you want to understand what about the job they're complimenting, because here's where compliments I think fall flat, and it's the same thing goes for praise and feedback in the workplace, is when people do it as a very generalized sweeping statement. Oh, you did a good job. Oh, let's praise, Susie for being such a great, person on the team. That feels really inauthentic. It feels really very generalized. It feels like it's just this big kind of like statement versus getting very specific about what you're complimenting something on, what you're praising someone on. And so, for example, if you're the one offering the compliment, you might say, instead of just Martha, you did a great job, say, Martha, I really like the way you did X. Man, I haven't seen somebody do that way before, and it got me thinking about something different. Great job. Tell me, Martha, does that feel like a different compliment? So think about how we give compliments, because how we receive compliments is an extension of that, right? And so sometimes the way we can change that is to show people and demonstrate influence. The other thing that you can do, and I do this when people give me testimonials sometimes, I'm like, they'll be like, Candy, you rocked the stage. I'm like, what specific thing really stood out for you, or what resonated for you most? Because here's the thing, I want to also be able to learn from the feedback. I want to be able to take the compliment and give it some roots, give it some anchors. And so oftentimes I'll get curious, because I don't want just the airy-fairy, oh, thanks. I'm more of like, what about that really spoke to you? What about that made it rock for you on stage? Because I want to make sure I do that over and over again, because if that spoke to you, I'm guessing that there's an opportunity for it to speak to someone else. Same thing, Martha, you might have said to somebody or say to somebody when they say, hey, good job, and you're like, I didn't play full out. Stop making it about you, because that person's feeling love and expressing gratitude for what you just did. So instead of questioning, because your questioning is about your own self-worth, instead lean in and get curious and say, wow, I'd really love to learn more about where you thought I really did a good job and where I can continue to excel, especially if you're working with a manager or a team or something like that. Get that feedback. Open up a conduit to allow really rich, meaningful conflict instead of the airy-fairy compliments sometimes. Oh, excellent. Because we often forget to give things depth and meaning, right? We just say things and then people walk away and they're either confused or they're like, okay. Or if we walk around and think about it, if you're leading a team or you're leading a space or you've got, your own team in business, or even your family members, if you're giving the same compliment all the time. So for example, say you're like, wow, great job. And every 5 minutes you're like, great job, great job. Let me tell you, that loses all meaning really fast, because it's like, great, I always do a good job. And I'm going to go back to, there's a story when I was in corporate. It was actually one of my pivotal moments when I transitioned out. It was a space of, I had like 3 different signs that showed up and things that were really very powerful to say it was time to transition. And one of them was when I got my pay increase. We always got our pay increase mid-March. And I got my review. And I got an E rating, which I would say I very much was in a space. I was in a new position. I'd been in the position for about a year, and so I was still learning, growing, and we still didn't even know what the position really was. It was a role that had been created around me, actually. And I was actually a little bit upset at the fact that I got an E rating, because I really, truly didn't feel like I earned it. I by no means was excelling at this job. I was excelling in my effort, sure, but I wasn't mastering this job by any means. And when I got my raise, it was the biggest raise I ever got in my life. I remember looking at the check, and it was my variable pay and my merit increase. And I remember sitting there going, all I want to do is crawl under my desk and go to sleep. This doesn't in any way, shape, or form lift me up, motivate me. And it felt like such a flat compliment, or a flat, and someone said, one of my friends I was talking to, I said, I don't want to be here anymore. I said, it's time for me to move on. She goes, didn't you just say you got an X% increase? And I'm like, yeah, and there's no meaning to it for me. And I said, I don't even feel like this year I deserved or warranted that level. And she said, well, your reputation precedes you. And so I did that kind of backward spiral to go, great, my reputation precedes me, which means no one's being present and really being in a space to help me grow, which was so telling for me, because I was at a point where I was really hitting a wall in corporate, plus so many things were showing up that were tapping into where my passion, my ikigai, for those of you that have done the trainings with me, and my purpose really were. And so it was just a sign. It was really a sign. And while there was an appreciation for the money, there was no deep-seated, rooted connection to it, because I felt like it was just a blasé kind of just, general, all sweeping, just kind of a repeat of last year. There wasn't this intentional, connected, present space for me. And so I want you to think about that. Good morning, Martha. I want you to think about how you're giving compliments and how you're receiving compliments. And again, there's always the opportunity. And so first of all, the one thing I want you to really think about is when you're offering feedback or when you're offering a compliment, be specific. Really look at the person. Don't just, when you see the person in the grocery store, don't just say, oh, I love your shirt, and don't make eye contact, and don't, no, hold a presence. Look at that person and say, wow, that shirt is beautiful. It brings out the blue in your eyes, and it just truly makes you look alive. Add that little extra piece that helps people connect to how you see them, so that they can, because here's what a compliment ultimately does. It does 2 things. One is an extension of love that someone else is feeling. It is an extension of someone feeling like they are full or overflowing with love and gratitude, and they want to give that out. And it's a mirror. It's a mirror of things that we either see in others that we love about ourselves, or we see in others that we want to enhance in ourselves. And so when you think about the compliment in that perspective, it's a mirror and it's an extension, it's a gift. And I think I mentioned this before, but when I was transitioning, I came across this white paper, and I don't remember what the white paper was about, but I remember this statement that has forever stayed with me. And regardless of whether your higher power is God, Buddha, Tao, Spirit, Source, Penelope, as we call it, one of my mastermind groups, whatever you want to call it, the statement still holds true. And it said, never, ever return a gift to God that's been unopened or unappreciated. And so think about on the other side when you're not receiving that compliment, you're not receiving that extension of someone's love. And how many times is someone giving you the compliment? Do you do one of these things? Oh, I love your haircut. It really compliments, your eyes or whatever. Oh my God, she took too much off. The color's all wrong, and blah, 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 and you spin, right? So that's one way we choose not to answer the compliment, or we deflect it out, and we answer it. We do one of 3 things usually when we answer a compliment. Usually. One, we kind of deflect, or we make it minimum, and we start to degrade ourselves inside the compliment. So we do things like, oh, well, you know, okay, thanks. You know, I think she took too much off. We either reel in it. Let me get my thoughts straight. We either reel in it and we kind of spin, or we do oh, I love when people say, I love that dress. And you're like, oh, it was on sale at Target. Oh my gosh, why do you diminish it in that space and devalue it instead of just saying, or I used to do that all the time because I was a big Salvation Army and Goodwill shopper, because that was just the state of where my family was. And let me just tell you as a side note, where I was mortified by it as a kid, I am the queen of being able to pack these days, because we used to have days where we would go to Salvation Army or Goodwill, and it was, how much could you pack in a paper bag for a quarter? Man, I'll tell you what, people wonder how I can take a carry-on suitcase and live off like 2 months with what I pack in there, because I am the queen of packing. Because when I heard that you could get all this for a quarter in a paper bag, man, it was amazing. And so I absolutely know that inside and out, and I am like, it has given me the skill of packing and traveling light. So I'm very grateful for that, where I was mortified as a child that I had to go to Salvation Army and Goodwill to get clothes and stuff. I now look at that as one of my greatest life skills, that I am one of the most efficient and amazing packers and can travel as light as anybody. I can put things in a backpack and travel for 2 months. I'm just saying. So that being said, somebody would say something to me, oh, Kenny, I really like that top. And I'm like, oh, I got it at Goodwill. I got it for, you know, $2 instead of, stop diminishing the compliment and just say thank you. Who cares? Because the minute you start to say how much it costs, or you do the opposite, oh, this is, and you have to name the brand name, stop it. All that's doing is feeding into your ego and feeding into the space that says you are screaming for someone to validate you instead of knowing and appreciating your own self-worth. So that's the second space you did. Third one is when you deflect and someone says, oh, I love your top, and you're like, ooh, I love your shoes. Stop it. Just say thank you. Stop not receiving the gift of love and immediately making it about something else. Allow somebody to love on you. Allow somebody to see you. Allow somebody to hold up that mirror, because they're also seeing a reflection of themselves, and say thank you. By the way, if you can't take a compliment, I want you to practice thank you, period. That's it. That's it. No further discussion, no explanation, no justification, no deprecation, no spinning, no spiraling, no deflection, none of it. Just get in a space to say thank you, period. And if you can't believe it, you can't receive it, at least say thank you so that person feels you honor them. Because I want you to realize that when you don't receive a compliment, which means you're not receiving that gift of love, you are not only dishonoring yourself, you are dishonoring that other person in that moment. I want you to really think about that. Mateo, X suits, I can outdress most executives because I know I paid why, I take the win. You know what, who cares? That's like, and I get what you're saying there. It's not about taking the win. It's not about one-upping somebody. It's not about this power. It's about seeing people where they're at, meeting them, and lifting them to another level. It's not about the material outside external world, and that's going to light me up just a little bit. And I know what Mateo is saying there, and I absolutely appreciate that, so thank you. But it's not about taking the win. It's about belonging to yourself so much. It's about understanding that no one validates you. There are things, and I think about Dean Graziosi talking about, he has stopped going into meetings wearing suits. I don't go to corporate anymore wearing suits, and I'm a big fan of the way Dean Graziosi says it. Brene Brown says it. Look, if you don't want to hire me for the way I dress, I will show up like this to train in corporate. I have a jean jacket on. I actually have a pair of capri yoga pants on with a dress. It's the way I dress. It's my style. And you know what? It's who I am. And if you're going to sit there and judge me based on whether or not I'm wearing a suit coming into corporate, then I'm not your person, because you're missing my message entirely. And so it's not about, anytime we play the comparison game, you're creating a suicide situation for yourself. And I want you to really think about that. It's not about I one-up them. It's not about I get the win and I only paid this and you paid that. It's not about that. It's about owning, because I'll tell you, I've got some pieces that are, you know, I've got the $300 shirt, and I've got the pieces that make me feel, but they're pieces that spoke to me, that are my investment pieces, and I don't have to explain that to anyone. I had a coach who, she had a love of Coach bags, and for those of you who know I love my shoes, I do not explain my love of shoes or the fact that I want good quality leather, or I want, you don't have to explain that. You don't have to compare that. It's about owning your own space. It's about belonging to yourself. It's about standing up in a place when someone says, wow, you look amazing, and you simply say thank you and receive it. Because here's the thing. The best thing you can wear any day is your own confidence. The best thing you can wear any day is your own sense of belonging and authenticity and knowing who you are and standing in your personal power. And when someone compliments you, it's because your light is emanating from all of who you are, all of your being, and has nothing to do with what you're wearing and how your hair is styled or anything else. Simply drop it and say thank you, because it's a good indication that you're showing up and you're alive and you're vibrant and you're present. And when someone honors that about you, thank them and honor that back. And so when you don't receive the compliment, yes, thank you is a complete sentence. Yes, no, and thank you are all complete sentences. And I get fired up in this space because this has been something that I've had to learn most of my life. I have definitely been someone who struggled in all three of those spaces around compliments. And I really found it difficult to, and I'm continuing to working on receiving. I've got certain aspects where I receive really well, and I have other aspects, especially when someone shows up and just gifts me or wants to support me in my business. I still struggle with some of that. And like I said, going into this retreat that I'm doing in Vancouver is going to change everything for me. And I know that I'm working with one of my masters. I'm working with one of my mentors who is absolutely one of the most gifted people in this space. And I'm going to bring that back into how I teach and how I show up and all of the work that I'm doing, as well as my certification program to teach other people to do this. And so again, for those of you that were on right away, I won't be on Facebook Live until Tuesday morning. I am on a 6 a.m. flight tomorrow to Vancouver, and I am flying again Monday morning. And Friday, I don't know what our scheduled morning activities look like. So I am not going to be back until Tuesday, so that I can really immerse myself and go deep in the work that's being asked of me. So I am not going to be on technology probably. It's going to be a true retreat. In fact, I've been going back and forth on, do I even take my computer? And I'm leaning on the no. I'll take my iPad so I can do some reading on the flight, on my Kindle and other things. But I have to say, I'm probably going to unplug for the entire weekend, because this is a retreat for me to go in and receive the gift that's in front of me, to work with this group of individuals, to work with a master, to really lean into a deeper space to be open, a deeper space of sacred connections, a deeper space of vulnerability and courage, and a deeper space of the masculine and feminine energy that we each have. And so I really want to be present for that. I want to receive this because it is such a gift to be able to work with my guru. And I say that because we need to be able to accept those. And again, it's that space of don't half-ass, because that's also me not receiving the compliment would be me half-assing it and thinking I had to get some work done and thinking I have to do this. I'm going to full-ass this retreat, both cheeks in, and I'm going to immerse myself in it in a way so that I can bring that back for all of you. I can bring that back for me. And the biggest compliment that we can receive is showing up as our own selves. Our biggest compliment that we can offer is to show up as our own selves. And so I want you to think about, I want you for today, for Wednesday, to imagine if you allowed yourself to receive more. I want you to really lean in and think about where in your life are you struggling to receive a compliment. And a compliment could be a gesture, a compliment could be a gift, a compliment could be a statement, a compliment could be a sacred space someone holds for you. Are you receiving the love that's pouring into you, or are you inadvertently blocking it because you're not simply appreciating it for showing up? And like Yvette said, thank you is a complete sentence. Thank you. I want you to practice that. Thank you. Thank you. I want you to practice when someone tells you you're beautiful, or someone tells you that you're amazing. And again, if you find yourself struggling at all with it, lean in a little bit and say, yes, full ass, both cheeks in. Always. We don't half-ass anything in this community. My Camp Candy people know that. All my people that I train, work with, my clients know that we do not half-ass anything. Full-ass everything, including your downtime. Both cheeks in, always. Don't do this 1 foot, switch tasking, distracted. It's such a waste of time. Honor yourself in that as well. And practice giving yourself compliments. This is where, if you can't receive compliments, if you really struggle, especially when it comes to things connected to your self-worth, which Any compliment you can't receive ultimately is connected to your belief around your own self-worth, and who you are and what you, quote, deserve. I want you to spend some time, and this is an exercise that I've shared with people many times. I want you to start practicing in the morning and in the evening. First thing when you wake up in the morning and you go in the bathroom and you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you do whatever. Before, you know, you've combed your hair, washed your face, put the makeup on, before you've shaved, whatever it is, I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to make eye contact with yourself. And I want you to truly, from a loving space, I want you to tell yourself all the things you love about yourself. I want you to simply say your name. Your name has meaning, and I want you to look in the mirror and you'd say something like, Candy, I love you. You are a powerful child of God. You are beautiful and have so many gifts to share with the world. You are here to serve. You are here to influence, and you have this magnificent light and being about you. Know that you are loved. Know that you are loved, and know that you have the opportunity to give love at every time. And I will say that and look at myself really as if I were looking at a small child or looking at Peyton, right, my dog. And then what the most challenging piece around that is to simply hold your gaze and be present with yourself for like 5 seconds. For those of you that haven't done that, it might be the most difficult thing you've ever done, is to just lovingly gaze at yourself. It's one of the most beautiful compliments you can give yourself, is to see yourself and to love yourself as a result. Because the more you practice that, the more you allow other people to share that and stand in that space with you, and you start attracting the people. People are attracted to that light. People are attracted to that love. And then I want you to do the same thing at the end of the day when you're tired and you look like you got the crap kicked out of you, and you take the makeup off, or you're getting the 5 o'clock shadow coming back, or whatever it is. I want you to do the same thing before you go to bed. It's really powerful when you go to bed with a heart full of self-love, what you dream about, what you think about, and how you start your next day from a place of receiving. Because here's the thing for all you givers out there. You can only give that which you replenish, right? It's like the bank account, it's the oxygen mask, it's the gas tank, it's whatever you want to call it. If you want to give more, if you want to play a bigger game, if you want to serve more, if you want to love more, if you want to impact more, if you want to influence more, then you need to start to receive more. Because the only way you can put more out is to receive, because the law of reciprocity demands that. We have to have a balanced equation. And so if you are like, I want to give more, then start receiving more. And so I really want you to lean in. I want you to think about, imagine if I allowed myself to receive the compliments today. Imagine if I offered really genuine, deep, rooted compliments for other people and really saw them and really took a moment to be present with them. Presence is an amazing gift. Presence, especially in a society that is overly distracted, our time and our presence is everything. And I posted something I saw yesterday that was all about just being. Be with your pen and paper. Be with. It's that space of just being present, right? We're so distracted. We're so busy. We're so often 15 different directions or 1,500 different directions. I want you to be able to drop in, and I want you to really think about that fact that presence is the greatest compliment you can give yourself and you can give somebody else. So any questions or thoughts about that before I wish you all a fantastic and amazing Wednesday and rest of your week? Again, I will be back on Tuesday. I am going to fully immerse myself in a growth retreat for me, a personal and professional development retreat. I get to work with one of my masters. I'm super excited. I cannot wait to share with you. So be prepared. Tuesday, I'll probably have a lot to download, some things I want to share right out of the gate. And then, yeah, so if you guys, anything else, otherwise, thank you, as always, for showing up. Thank you for contributing in these conversations. Thank you for honoring yourself and me and everyone else that's on these Facebook Lives. Just know how much I deeply appreciate that. Oh, excellent. Yay, glad to hear that. And again, for any of you that are looking for more of this in depth and structured and really create the accountability and the opportunity to put these pieces into motion, make sure you check out the Yes Monthly program. It's pretty powerful. We've already dug in on a couple levels, and just great conversations, great training, great things available for you. And so yes, Thank you. I will, Paul. I will. I am very much wide open for this experience. I know it's going to be a life changer, and that's all the only expectation I'm going in with. This is absolutely a growth opportunity. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I will, and all of you stay fierce as well. Just know I love you deeply, and I will see you all right back here Tuesday morning, 7:30. And that will be episode 60. Can you believe that? That's crazy. Anyway, I love you all. Hi, Robin. I'm going to wish you well. Go out and really think about where you struggle receiving compliments. Allow yourself to step in and offer those deep, rich, meaningful compliments and learn to say thank you today. So thank you, all of my lovelies. I love you. Go out, kick some ass, play full ass today. And I'll see y'all on Tuesday.